Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names of kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you only on Grande's Graveyard. And yes, welcome back to another edition of the show where tonight we travel to the wonderful native land of Italia. Yes, Italy is the country. And of course, tonight we are talking about three gialli on this very nice Giallo special. Yes, I'm very excited here tonight. Of course, all from the 1970s. And it's funny, it's each one year after the other. Of course, we have one from 1971, 1972, and 1973, respectively. We've got the yellow banner on the bottom. Of course, we're always behind the yellow wall. So I am very excited here to be with you guys here tonight as we discuss all things gialli. And of course, we can give a little bit of a divulgement into what we'll be discussing, of course, here tonight. And of course, I guess we can go chronologically, right? First, from the year 1971, one of my favorite Lucio Fulci movies, a movie that I think is possibly, if not most definitely, his most psychedelic movie that he ever made in his entire career, starring the legendary Florinda Balkan. A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. A Lizard in a Woman's Skin will be discussed here tonight on Grande's Graveyard. Of course, from 1972, another really, I think, great giallo, and a movie that I think needs to be discussed a little bit more, and a movie that I'm very excited here to cover tonight. Of course, directed by Massimo Dallamano. Massimo Dallamano, of course. What Have You Done to Solange? Yes, What Have You Done to Solange? And lastly, but certainly not leastly, of course, from 1973, and director Sergio Martino, and of course, legendary actress Susie Kendall, we have Torso. Yes, Torso, which it's so yellow, it's blending in with everything. It's like camo. I have to take it out of the light for you to see that it's sort of yellow. But yeah, no, that one, the back wall doesn't do it any favors for sure. But I'm very excited to have you all in the chat. Let's see what the comments have to say. Ciao, Grande and Graveyardian friends. Welcome, Miss C. Hope all is well with you. We got Haddonfield mascot in the house. Hey, what's up, Grande and chat? Hope everyone is doing well. I have my red and black scarf in hand. Oh, yeah, my man mentioned in Torso right off the bat. And yeah, no, red and black scarf. But it depends on the design, right? If it's the reverse design, you might just be all right. You might just be Stefano, but we'll get there. We will get there for sure. We have Matteo in the house, the king of gialli himself. Ciao, Grande. Super excited for tonight. Three awesome movies. Fulci and Martino, masters of their craft. Dallamano directed very well and almost masterpiece with superb screenplay, Giallo for life. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And yeah, Dallamano, it's sad. He was sort of robbed, and we'll get into all that. We will kind of get into how he was sort of robbed of a longer career. Anthony Chobot is here. Hey, how you doing? By the way, I'm seeing the Karate Kid Legends next Tuesday, and I'm still up to 2012 in the memoirs. Anthony Chobot, hope all is well with you, man. Always happy to have you in the house. And yeah, no, I obviously, this was the impromptu show voted by you guys, the Graveyard fans. We did the little poll. And honestly, it was pretty close. Of course, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 versus 4, that got some love. Some people wanted to see the state of the genre addressed. Some people, I forget what the other option was. Maybe it was top 10 Twilight Zones. But all the options definitely got their fair share of votes. But ultimately, it was the Giallo special that pulled away in the last hour or two when it came to what show we were going to do this week to close out the wonderful month of May. Our fifth show in May. It's absolutely crazy that we've done this many. But I'm very excited to have you all in the house here tonight. So we will not waste any more time. I'm going to throw up a cheers to the greatest drink in the history of the world. Little Mountain Dew on Grande's Graveyard. Cheers to the whole graveyard. And we'll get underway. Let me know what you're drinking tonight. Let me know what you're cheersing to. And man, I don't know. I mean, there's so many ways we can kick off the show. I really enjoy all three of these movies. That's a small spoiler. There's not going to be any Grande rants on this episode of Grande's Graveyard, unless somebody brings up something in the comments that I hate. But when it comes to these three movies, I really like them all. And I mean, there's numerous ways we could start this show, right? I mean, we could start the show off hot with a movie like Torso, a lot of beautiful women, a lot of crazy violence and intensity and atmosphere. We could start a movie off with a little psychedelic hotness and Florinda Balkan and some lesbian loving and some crazy weird dream sequences and colors. Or I figured we could start the show off with a question, something we don't do every often, but you know what? Something that I think we should do here tonight. Tonight, I think we start this show off with a wonderful question, a pivotal question. I ask you here tonight on May the 29th of 2025 of Grande's Graveyard, I ask you the pivotal question: what have you done to Solange? Yes, what have you done to Solange? Brief plot synopsis. A teacher who is having an affair with one of his students is reluctant to present an alibi when his lover witnesses the first in a series of brutal murders connected to their school. Yes, what have you done to Solange? Now, of course, Massimano Dalaman, he's the guy who directs this movie. And I said that he was sort of robbed of a longer career because unfortunately he was killed in a car wreck about 4 years after this movie had been released. Now, he did do a sort of spiritual sequel, which is called What Have They Done to Our Daughters, which is really good too. It's possibly just as good. I like Solange a little bit better, but it's close. I mean, it's definitely a worthy spiritual sequel, if you will. But Massimo Dallamano, I thought he did a great job directing this movie here. And from top to bottom, I think this is one of the best Gialli I've ever seen. I think this is just such a good film from top to bottom. And you start with the cast. I mean, this movie has an amazing cast. Of course, Fabio Testi, who he actually, fun fact, was wanted in Torso. They wanted him to play the doctor character in this film, and they weren't able to, make agreements with his schedule. So ultimately, he doesn't show up in Torso, but he does show up here in What Have You Done to Solange? And he is the lead character, and he is actually cheating on his wife, who's played by, of course, Karen Ball, and he's cheating on her with one of my all-time favorite underrated horror just actresses in general in Christina Galbo, who I've always loved from the first time I saw her in movies like La Residencia, or aka The House That Screamed, or movies like, Let Sleeping Corpses Lie. I thought she just always brought a great screen presence, a great beauty, a great innocence, especially in this film. Just these beautiful dark green eyes that tell an amazing story every time you see her on the screen. She's somebody that I would love to see an interview with. I'd love to know her thoughts on these movies. It seems like they just have never been able to get an interview with her, which is unfortunate. But I mean, I just think she's gorgeous, and she always shines. She always manages to kind of steal a little bit of the show in any movie that she's ever in. Of course, I think she's also in another giallo I haven't seen called The Killer Will Kill Again by Luigi Cozzi. He directed that movie. I've never seen that. So that's one that's ultimately on the watch list, if you will, in the future. But What Have You Done to Solange is an excellent example if you want to show somebody a giallo. It's an excellent movie overall, top to bottom, no matter what you're trying to show somebody. And it opens on this boat. It opens with Christina Galbo and, of course, our lead character, Fabio Tezzi. They're making out on a boat, and it's just this beautiful kind of summer day as they're making out and kissing in the water and stuff like that. And of course, Christina Galbo, she thinks she sees the beginning of what appears to be like a murder. She sees the reflection of this knife that keeps kind of blinding her eyes, and she's watching. She's trying to get his attention. Hey, look. And he's like, oh, you're trying to make up your excuses because I'm a teacher and you're a schoolgirl. Of course, she's a part of this all Catholic girls school that, of course, Fabio teaches at, and she's one of his students that of course has been wooed by him, and she thinks she's witnessing this murder, and he's like, no, like, I'll just take you home, don't worry about it, until he hears on the radio that yes, this murder did transpire, it did occur. She wasn't going crazy, she wasn't making excuses because she didn't want to make out with him anymore. She actually did witness a murder. And I think what makes this one stand out for me personally, there's a lot of different things, but right off the bat to me is the mean spirit of this movie. This movie is a very mean spirit. This isn't your classic, oh, so-and-so gets strangled, so-and-so gets stabbed. No, this is a very mean-spirited and dark film when it comes to the murders. And what do I mean by that? The victims, a majority of the victims in this, are not just stabbed anywhere. They're stabbed in their private parts. They're stabbed brutally in the vagina, and it is horrific. I mean, you don't really ever see the penetration. You never really see it happen. But I think Massimo did a great job at making you feel it, even though you didn't really see anything like that happen. There's a really, really disturbing scene where the father of the first victim, he's asking, hey, what happened to her? What did they do? And they take him into the room, and you see on the x-ray screen, he goes, this is where he put the knife. And you see it's a picture of a switchblade that's been rammed up the girl's vagina. And it's Oh my God. I mean, the first time I saw this, I was so taken aback by that. I was like, wow, like I was not ready for this. And I thought it was done in such a classy way, even though it is something that's so mean spirited, but it is something that's more implied. And thus the idea of it, I think, kind of messed with my psyche. And I thought that was really a thing that right off the bat stands out with this movie. And there's quite a few other things. Now, of course, it does focus a little bit in the beginning on the love story between Christina Galbo and Fabio. And I thought they had great screen presence and chemistry with one another. I really like there's a great scene where he calls her on the telephone and he goes, I want you to guess what song. And he plays this song on the record for her. And she kind of just puts her head back and nods to it. And, bicycle rides over to his house and they're, having this big affair because, of course, Fabio's wife, Karen Ball, she's sexually like repressed. She's not giving him any anymore. And of course, he's kind of grown tired of her and her nonsense and things like that, her uptightness. And he wants to explore this young, beautiful girl, Christina Galbo. Who the hell could blame him? I mean, she was beautiful. I mean, hopefully still is. I don't know what she looks like nowadays, but she was a beautiful lady. And I liked that Massimo really kind of throughout each murder, there's sort of a psychic slash dreamsicle connection between Christina Galbo's character and these murders. There's a point where one of the girls in the school, she gets a call. Hey, I need to borrow a chemistry book or something. Like, would you mind bringing it out to the car? I'm in the neighborhood. I'll stop by. She says, sure. So she runs out. It's a dark middle of the night and she just gets grabbed into the car. And I love how she's kind of dragged out to the middle of the woods. She's gagged and you're getting ready for the killer to just finally do what he's going to do. And there's this amazing transition as he goes for the stab. It edit cuts to Christina Galbo waking up from a nightmare. Like, oh my God, what the fuck just happened? And she's just panting and out of breath and all these things. And you can really see the terror, like I said, in those beautiful green eyes. She's just, it was a great job at selling terror and fear as she kind of runs outside and calls Fabio, oh my God, I saw it again. This is terrible. Oh my God. She can't get over it. And I think where this movie, if I had a knock, it is the fact that Christina Galbo, big spoiler, is not the lead and protagonist in the film for much longer than that. Now, about halfway through the film, she does get killed off. And it's a bittersweet thing because while I love her character, while I think she's fantastic in this, and I wish she was in it the whole way through, at the same time, Massimo was able to shoot what, in my opinion, is the single greatest murder sequence in a Giallo film. In arguably any film. I love this murder sequence and how it's done. The setup is everything. Here we have a movie that to me, the last part of it, which we will get into a little bit more towards the end of the review, it's about the horrors of innocence. And what do I mean by that? Of course, the horrors of innocence, I think, between not just Solange, the title character, but I also think Christina Galbo's character, Elizabeth is her name. I think we watched this girl before our eyes from the very opening as this beautiful, doting, innocent 18-year-old girl just discovering what love is, just discovering womanhood, just discovering herself and being with this professor all the time. And of course, all this craziness is happening. So she's dealing with all these terrorizing things at the same time. But I think her innocence was what drew me to her character. And of course, there's the scene where she and Fabio, they've set a date and, he's supposed to meet her over in this apartment. And instead the killer meets her there and she's in the bathtub, kind of washing herself, preparing for him. And she says, Fabio, you come in, Fabio, she's yelling for him to come on into the bathroom. And you hear this record playing. All of a sudden, the record stops and we're in the POV of the killer as he kind of walks into this bathroom. And it is, I think, the best drowning murder scene I've ever seen in my life. It is so well directed from top to bottom by Massimo. It should be studied in film classes, how well this is done and how brutal this killing is of this young, like I said, innocent, doting girl with these beautiful green eyes that just add to the innocence. Is drowned, is victimized, and maimed before our eyes as the killer drowns her in this bathtub. There's no words. It's so disturbing to me on every single level. It's like, oh my God, like not her. I remember when I first saw this, I was like broke. I was like, no, not Christina Calvo. No. It's like horrified, but she gets drowned, and it's just this cold, cold exit as the killer kind of rushes out of the hotel that he's in, and he just gets the fuck out of there. And we see the aftermath. She's just drowned and dead. And it's just I thought, a disturbing thing. And again, a murder that plays a lot on the theme of this overall movie. Now, it's bittersweet. As great as the kill is, I do wish Christine Galbo was in the movie more, because after that, you do get my only flaw with this movie, which is Karen Ball and Fabio. They kind of reunite after this. He admits to her, listen, I was seeing this girl, but she technically was a virgin. They tell you that in the movie too. So she's like, okay, like, we've had our problems. We've had our gripes. Let's figure this out. And throughout the rest of it, he's with her. I didn't buy their chemistry at all. And I didn't really think that a wife that had been cheated on with this, and she knew she was getting cheated on by the schoolgirl, and even at one point tries to confront Christina Galbo, like, you fucking bitch, you whore. Like, she wants to confront her in this school and can't bring herself to do it because she knows that the evil is not there. It's really an innocent situation where the real guy doing the bad things is Fabio. He's the one that's committing the adultery. It's not really as much her. And the movie kind of plays on from there. We get some interesting clues. We hear about this girl who went missing called Solange, and, what they did to her. What did they do to her? We hear all these stories, but we can't quite drive home what has happened until we finally stumble upon Solange in the third act. And Solange is played by none other than Camille Keaton. Now, Camille Keaton, everyone's going to remember from a little movie called I Spit on Your Grave. She's the lead in that and is pretty brutally assaulted in that movie too. And it doesn't get much better here. I mean, she had a knack for picking movies that she had to go through hell really to make. Now, if you're a Camille Keaton fan, you're not going to hear her say all that much in this movie. She has maybe one line or two, because obviously the character she's playing is not your typical character. When we stumble upon Solange, finally, we find her at this carnival. And I loved how Massimo used the camera here as she's on this merry-go-round that's going around and around, and we see her emotionless face going up and down on the merry-go-round. And I love how the camera kind of goes with her, and it makes you feel like physically you're on this merry-go-round with Camille Keaton. I loved how that was shot. And of course, Massimo, for people that don't know, he only directed 12 films in his career. However, he was a cinematographer for quite some time. So the camera work here is excellent. And you could totally tell that this guy was a master cinematographer long before he was what could have been master filmmaker. I do think this is his masterpiece, but of course we were robbed of more due to his untimely death in 1976 in the car accident. Love how that stuff shot with Solange, with Camille Keaton on this merry-go-round. And of course, one of the schoolgirls, she sees, oh, my Solange, it's been so long. I hope everything's okay. And she won't answer her until we get to the ultimate unveil of what's going on, why these murders have been happening. Why are they so mean-spirited and violent and everything in between? What is happening? What did they do to Solange? And we are told in what I thought was a masterfully shot third act, where we see these still black and white, like, flashback scene. And it's all of these girls. They're laughing like fuck. They're riding their bicycles. The color is completely zapped and zooted from the scene. You don't see any color. And we watch these girls. They're kind of pulling up on their bicycles to a little house. And there's arguing and there's fighting and they're pulling Camille Keaton in all sorts of directions. We see Christine Galbo is one of them, pulling her away from the house, saying, no, no, no. And we get the idea that these girls were all a part of this sort of hedonistic sex cult where these girls were all participating in sex orgies and who all, God knows what else. And of course, Camille Keaton was a part of this, and she ultimately got pregnant in this orgy. She got knocked up, and they're saying to her, hey, we can go to this back alley abortionist. We can go to Tata, and she'll take this baby right out of you. Like, it's the only way you're going to be able to live a normal life. Otherwise, you're going to be a teen mom. And they're, of course, Christine Galbo, she's like, no, like, come with us. You don't want to do this. Like, keep the baby. Like, if you're going to get rid of the baby, don't do it this way. They pull her into the house, and what we proceed to see is this woman perform a back alley abortion on Camille Keaton, and it is all kinds of disturbing. I have a hard time watching it to this day. I truly think it is one of the hardest scenes I've ever had to watch. As we watch Christine Galbo biting on this, I'm sorry, not Christine. As we watch Camille Keaton biting on this towel as they're sticking, obviously there's this sharp sort of metal rod up her, private parts to get rid of and abort this child. And we see that unfortunately this has emotionally and psychologically disturbed Camille Keaton's character to the point where she's not the same anymore. She's reverted to an infantile state where now she's like a baby. Now she's like an infant that just kind of wanders and roams. She doesn't really think anymore. The lights are on, but no one's home anymore in Solange's mind as she kind of wanders to these carnivals and rides the rides like any mindless child would do. And of course, it's revealed that the killer is her protective father who blames himself, who blames these girls for exposing Camille Keaton, exposing Solange to these horrible, awful sexual orgy parties in which her life was eventually and ultimately ruined. After getting pregnant, after having this abortion, and after losing her fucking mind to the point where, now you look like beautiful 20-year-old Camille Keaton on the outside, but on the inside, you're nothing but a scared, shy, timid little kid. And I thought the psychology in this, I thought that was outstanding. I really did think that was outstanding. Of course, you do have the legendary Ennio Morricone doing the music here. The musical cues in this are tremendous. I really love Ennio's score here. It's very foreboding. It's very eerie. It's unsettling at times. I think the flashback sequences when they're playing, it sounds like this screeching music, almost to make you screech along with what's happening as she's biting on the towel and they're aborting this fetus from her. I mean, it is absolutely all sorts of horrific. I think that's a big thing with this movie too. The horror in What Have You Done to Solange, it just can't be understated. It's such a horrific giallo because of its dark nature. And again, not overly explicit in what you see, but I think what Massimo does so well, he makes you feel everything, right? Here we again have the theme of the horrors of losing your innocence. Solange was just this innocent girl. Solange, again, like Christine Galbo's character, she was just trying to fit in. She was just trying to have fun with everybody else. Fuck it, we'll have some sex. We'll meet some boys. We'll have some drugs. Why not? What harm could it do? Sure, are those things normal for a girl that age to do? Absolutely, no doubt about it. But obviously, there's a line and there's a limit. And when you cross said line, when you go over said limit, the horror can ensue. And her whole life crumbles because of this, and her father decides they should all perish like Solange has. I lost Solange mentally. I lost her emotionally. You will all pay. And that's why all the killings, all the people that were responsible for her losing her mind are killed in such violent and gratuitous ways, even though most of it's off screen. I thought that was brilliant. This is such a well-written movie from top to bottom. The performances from everyone around is just outstanding. I really love What Have You Done to Solange. It's next to a perfect movie for me. If they, honestly, had they not killed Christine Galbo's character and she'd been in it the whole way, I would have been so for that. But I get at the same time why they did it, because the finale doesn't work if she's there in a lot of ways, because she probably would have put two and two together once they found Solange. So in my opinion, it's a bittersweet moment where she gets killed. It's a great sequence, directed perfectly, horrific as all hell. Obviously, I selfishly want to see her keep going on because I didn't really feel the chemistry between the actual husband and wife, but I get why they did it at the same time. It made more sense for this story. So my one gripe is a sort of, it made me either here or there for some people, but for me it is. So What Have You Done to Solange? I'm sorry. I think this is a really, really great movie. I really love this one. This is a damn good one for me, like a 9 out of 10. It's really close to being perfect to me. I love this movie. Outstanding flick. But let's see what you all have to say in the comments. I'm sorry. You guys, sometimes I go on a little too long. I apologize. Cheers to my dear park. Hell yeah. Great flavored water. All right. Everyone's drinking water except me. I feel left out. I totally feel left out. Just a suggestion, but maybe something to think about next time you do a Giallo special. Let the audience vote on the movie choices. Okay. I guess you're not a fan of these movies. I don't know. Oh, a Giallo stream. Nice. I hope you talk about stage fright someday. That's one of my favorites. That's not going to be covered here tonight, but I do appreciate the comment, Captain Skittles, and I hope all is well with you here tonight. Mateo, Solange have great atmospheres. I like the killer reveals. The movie have pre-slasher vibes in every killing. Massimo could have been up there with Martino and Bava. What if? Yeah, it's a big what if. I think you're so right there. It is a big what if. Because again, like I said, he was a master cinematographer. Like I really liked some of the things he did with the camera here in this movie. And the guy could write too. I mean, he was co-writer with this, I think Bruno Di Geronimo was the other co-writer. And they wrote such a good, smart screenplay here. It keeps you guessing what is going on. Who is Solange? We don't get Solange even mentioned until over an hour and 10 minutes into the movie. She's not even mentioned. I remember when I first saw this movie, I'm like, wait a minute, did I miss it? Like which one's Solange? I'm over an hour into this. Where is she? And you don't see Solange until like if it's even the last 20 minutes, I'd be sure. I think it's less than the last 20 minutes. It's like the last 19, 18 something minutes, like the last 15 so minutes, you finally see Solange. It's not a movie where, okay, we follow Solange throughout. We're trying to figure this out. She's just kind of thrown in there at the end. And I always looked at it like this. Massimo, we follow in the first half of Christine Gabo, the innocence there, right? Because she was one of the two girls that was like, listen, we shouldn't do this. We should not be going to a back alley abortionist right now. Let's get the fuck out of here. Let's think about it. Let's use our heads. Like she was one of the two that had a fucking conscience, that had a soul, right? So I look at her like that. And then once she's killed off, it's like we then focus and shift to Solange. That's the girl we keep hearing about. And then ultimately we find out what happened to said Solange in this clever title here, which it is a great title. I love that title. Like that just invites you into me. I think it's a great, great Giallo title. The abortion scene is so tough. I think Solange is better as well. It's more horror compared to Daughters, but I love them both. Yeah, I really like them both too, and I would totally review Daughters down the road. I think Daughters is a damn good movie, and like I said, it's not a sequel, but it's like a spiritual sequel. And then there's a third one too, but it's not directed by Massimo. I forget the fucking name. It's Red something. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it's definitely, I like Solange and Daughters the best of those three. I saw the third one. I don't even remember the name of it. That's how much memorable it was to me. But yeah, no, that abortion scene, man, you don't really see that much. And I love that they zapped the color out of it. That was the smartest thing they did, in my opinion, because in this, generally, flashback scene in black and white, all right, big fucking whoop. Like, what do you want, a medal? What do you want, a fucking standing ovation? Do you want a fucking golf clap? What do you want? Why zap the color? Here, I thought you had to zap the color. I thought that was the smartest thing that they fucking did. Because in this world of what happened to Solange, there is no color. There is no birds chirping and beautiful, lakes and ponds and making out with boys. There's none of that. There's just nothing but sorrow, sadness, regret, and fucking disturbingness. I mean, that's basically what it is. They completely zap the color, and we watch this woman get pulled in each different direction, kind of symbolic of how her life is about to be torn apart. It's her existence that's about to vanish. We're not ever going to really see Solange the way that she was once again, and I think that really carried a lot of emotional weight to it. I love how that's done. And I don't know how they did it, but it felt like it was sort of washed out black and white. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was seeing it in a different way, but like I felt the black and white looked very washed. And in a good way. I liked it. It was like, you shouldn't be watching this. It was like covering like Forbidden Factor on there. And I was like, oh man, I'm all about this. Like this is outstanding, like in the best of way. Lord Freeze is here. Welcome, Lord Freeze. Hope all's well with you, man. We got Texas THC 1965. Welcome, Tex. Hope all's well with you. We got Synth Attic in the house. That's a long time name. I haven't seen it in a long time. Hope all's well with you, Synth. I hope you're excited for Living Dead weekend. Hey there, I've only seen Solange. Need to see the others. Well, I highly recommend all three of these, but yeah, no, just that you've seen Solange, it means you're a real one, my friend, because it's awesome. I don't know if I'm a fan. Haven't seen them. Just more variety and choices could be interesting. Okay, interesting. Lizard in a Woman's Skin is one of my faves. Great to see everyone again. Hope all is well in the graveyard. Well, we're getting to the Lizard in a Woman's Skin up next, my friend. So don't you worry. I think Fulgi took a lot up from Solange and his New York Ripper. What do you think on my take? I won't lie to you. I've never thought of it that way. If you would like to give me an example of that, I would be all for it. What exactly in Solange reminds you of Ripper? Is it the psychology of the ending, like with the sick daughter in Ripper? If you haven't seen, spoiler, if you haven't seen Ripper, is that more what you mean, like the reasoning for the killing, or are you meaning like stylistically, tonally? I mean, totally, yeah. Like Ripper is fucking mean spirited too. Like it's, I would say this is even more mean spirited because I think the way the characters are done, like with New York Ripper, it's a lot of the like there's prostitutes being killed and there's the footsie. I remember when we had Mateo on. Mateo brought up the footsie scene. There's a lot more like sleaze and some little bit more degradable characters, for lack of a better term. Whereas with Solange, I think we look at our victims and they're all these schoolgirls, these Catholic schoolgirls who go to class and make confession, and ultimately one confession too many. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. We watch these girls as, listen, we're the ones that were trying to pull Camille Keaton in the other direction, as opposed to Christine Galbo pulling her in the right direction. Were they these awful girls? No, I don't think they ever intended for what happened to happen to her. I think that's a big thing that we have to drive home as well. They made a wrong choice. They were young kids and made a wrong choice that I guess in their minds thought, listen, if we get her clean of this child, she can live a normal life. I don't see a darkness or a malicious intent there. I don't. I think they meant well. Obviously, you should have took her to a real fucking doctor if you were going to do that. But of course, they thought, okay, we're kids, we're stupid. Well, this will work anyway. This will be just as good, if not better. Well, it does sometimes doesn't work that way. Sometimes it all goes to hell, and that's what happens. For those interested in Living Dead Weekend, I can't make it to Monroeville next week. Look for all my live coverage and occasional uploads from local recordings, signal issues, good fun. Synth, yeah, absolutely, man. We all look forward to seeing that. Directions and atmosphere and slasher and killings, nothing to do with the screenplay. Okay, nothing to do with screenplay. So I think for sure the mean-spiritedness is there. I agree with that for sure. I don't know. I guess I'd have to watch. Atmosphere, I wouldn't say is similar for me. I wouldn't. I don't know if I saw that personally, but I'm all for it. You know what? Next time maybe I do a double feature instead of this and Daughters. I'll do this and New York Ripper because Mateo sees the similarities there. But nothing to do with the screenplay is interesting because I know that the whole at the end we have the whole thing with the sick daughter, and that's a big reason as to why. And then with this again, sick daughter, and that's the reason as to why. So I see that. I definitely, well, now that I'm thinking about it, but I wouldn't lie to you and say that I've seen the similarities before you mention them. But I will say, man, if you have not seen What Have You Done to Solange, I think you should watch this movie. I'm not sure. See, this goes for pretty good penny now. Like Amazon, if you're buying it on Amazon, you're going to buy it from somebody else. I don't think Amazon has them in stock. I think on eBay, they're going for good money. The only place I think that would have them that is not going to overcharge you would be Arrow themselves. It's not like it's out of print. It's just, I think there's limited stuff. It's like endangered. It's definitely, I don't think there's too many copies of this left. Like this is not on Orbit DVD to my knowledge. Like there's a lot of sites where you're going to miss this on. But I totally think if you want to watch this movie, if you're a fan of this movie, I highly recommend it. And just a couple more things before I move on to the next movie that I forgot to mention. This was entirely shot in English, which is very rare for an Italian giallo film, of course. What they wanted to do, what the producers wanted to do, they wanted to make it as mass marketable to American audiences as possible. So even though some of the actors spoke limited English, they did shoot the whole movie in English. if you watch the English dub, it's some of the best dubbing you'll ever see. Like, it's actually unbelievable. Like, you can barely tell the movie is dubbed at times, and apparently that was their goal, and it works. Like, if I didn't tell you, you would never know. Like, that's how good the dubbing is here, as opposed to something like Snuff, which we reviewed last week, which that's some of the shittiest dubbing you'll ever see in the history of cinema. This, on the other hand, this is like the other side of that rainbow, where it's, yeah, this is the best dubbing you'll ever see. So if you don't want to watch it in Italian, you don't have to. However, no matter which cut you watch, the English or Italian, there are sequences where they didn't have the English, so you hear Italian, or vice versa. They didn't have the Italian, so you hear the English. So no matter which version you watch, you'll hear one or the other. You will hear English and Italian in there. I just wanted to mention that, and I definitely think either version you watch, it's fine. Obviously, I always watch the Italian versions, but I was curious to hear that because this was a monster hit. This made 834 million Italian lire. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Lire. I'm probably butchering that. Lira. Maybe it's lira. I don't know. It's Lire. That's what this movie made. So this was a huge hit in Italy, the biggest from 1971 all the way through 1972. There was no giallo that grossed more than this. So obviously, they wanted to capitalize on the bird with the crystal plumage, which set the world on fire in 1970 in Venice and Rome and all these cities in Italy. Obviously, Solange was the movie that ultimately was the next big dog on the block. Like, obviously all of them, and the movie we're going to talk about next, they took the name with the animal, right? We with the lizard with the woman's skin, and the black belly of the tarantula, and the cat o' nine tails, and all of these movies that decided to try to put an animal in the name to capitalize on Dario's, directorial debut success in The Bird with Crystal Plumage. It was Solange. It was What Have You Done to Solange? That was the movie that ultimately was the next big giallo film. So I thought that was something that it was worth mentioning. It's definitely a really good movie and worth that praise and making all the money that it did. I have tons of coverage from LDW last year in case you all want to watch. Grant, are you going? I'm on the fence, man. It's so fucking expensive to get a room. It would be a $2,000 weekend for me. Like, I know it. And I don't know if I could spend that right now. Like, I'm just not. I'm like, could I? Sure. But man, I'd be reeling for months if I do it. So I'm leaning towards no right now. If I had to answer you right now, I'm leaning towards no. I do have the day off. I took the day off of work just in case. So we'll see. If I can find a more, feasible way, I will go. But right now, gun in my head, unfortunately, I'm not going. I'm happy I did get to go because I know the mall is going to close. I know Monroeville Mall is most likely going to close. Walmart is taking it over. It's really sad, but I am so thankful that I got to go in 2023 and meet John Amplis and Scott Reiniger and Ken Foray and Richard France and Mike Gornick and all these great, Romero collaborators. That was a big dream come true. Amplis especially couldn't have been more nice to me. So, I mean, I am thankful every day that I got to go at least that year. If I don't get to go this year, because I don't think there's going to be another one. Lira. Okay, it is Lira. So I want to say Lire, but I knew it was wrong. Lira is singular. Lire is plural. Grandi was spot on. I was spot on. Oh, hell yeah. There we go. All right. You know what? I'm not one for drinking, but I'm going to drink right here, buddy. Cheers. Yeah, I got it wrong. Spot on. I'm going to drink to that. I'm getting a car, room, and airfare for 4 days from Cali. Only $1,200. Yeah, well, all that sounds great. But then what if you see something you like at the fucking convention? What if you got to eat? Well, yeah, we all got to eat. What if you got to drink? It adds up, man. It's like a $2,000 weekend. Like, I don't know. I can't. That is a lot of money to me. Maybe not to some, but oh man, that's a lot. I don't know. I'm on the fence. We will see. If I change my mind, I go. I obviously will reach out to you and Alpha and Landrum. I'd love to hang out with all of you guys for the weekend. So I'm on the fence. I have the day of work off. It's not a matter of getting off. It's a matter of, do I want to spend that? That's kind of where I'm at now. But I'm sorry to bring in my personal shit. But I do want to get into the next movie here, because I think this next movie, man, from top to bottom, may be one of this director's best. And this is a director that has made a lot of movies I love. Of course, the movie that introduced me to him was a little movie called House by the Cemetery in 1981. A great, in my opinion, haunted house movie. And in a lot of ways was Lucio Fulci's answer to The Shining. He really wanted to one up Stanley Kubrick. And not that he did, but I always loved the mentality of one Lucio Fulci, the director we're going to talk about next, and how he always wanted to, I can do that better. He sees something, I can do it better. Like that was a big thing with Lucio's career. And this was one of those instances to me. He saw, of course, Bird with the Crystal Plumage make a lot of money. And this was his answer in a lot of ways to that. This was his, I can do that better. From 1971, one of the best years in film history, of course. Clockwork Orange came out the year. The French Connection, of course, this little movie, of course, A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. Brief plot synopsis. The potentially unhinged daughter of a British politician is accused of killing her hedonistic neighbor after she witnesses the murder in a dream. Yes, The Lizard in a Woman's Skin. This is unbelievable. I mean, we all, like most people, when they talk Lucio, they jump immediately to the gates of hell. We hear City of Living Dead. We hear The Beyond. Zombie, Flesh Eater, Zombie 2, whatever you want to call it, House by the Cemetery. That's what we hear, right? Some people will talk about Contraband. Some people will talk about White Fang. Some people will talk about how well-rounded he was and how he touched every single genre of film, it seemed like. Can you make a Western? Sure. Can you make a spaghetti Western? Sure. Can you make an adventure film? Absolutely. Can you make a crazy sadomasochistic sex film called The Devil's Honey? Absolutely, I can do that. He could do anything. But I think what Lucio did best, and then I know this may be a bold statement to some, I don't give a fuck because that's my opinion. I don't think he did anything better than he did Gialli. I love Lucio's Gialli. If it's not this, it's a movie like Don't Torture the Duckling, which is my favorite Lucio Fulci movie. If it's not that, it's a movie like The Sidekick, which I think is another just a great Giallo film. But if I had to pick a second favorite to Duckling, it's this movie right here, Lizard in a Woman's Skin. And of course, he's reunited. This is the year before that movie comes out with the voluptuous, legendary, iconic Giallo queen, Florinda Balkan. I know Matteo's always called her the Giallo queen, and I have to agree with that. This is one of her best roles for me as this woman who is dealing with a lot of sexual repression. Our film opens where she is on a train. Florinda Balkan is on this train, and there's all these people kind of in these stalls, and they're not moving. They're just kind of statically talking with one another. We hear this noise, but we don't necessarily see them moving or anything like this. And then all of a sudden, Florinda's in this long hallway, and all of these people are having sex with one another and these amazingly insane orgies as Florinda's kind of like bobbing and weaving her way through this with her hands up in the air, like, I'm not touching, like, no hands, not touching anything. Until she gets to the end of this hallway where we see this beautiful fucking woman, and I want to get her name here. Oh God, what is her damn name? I know the character's name is Julia Deror. I should have grabbed her name before the show. Somebody maybe can give it to me, but I don't have her name. Julia Deror is the character's name. We see this beautiful woman, her and Florinda lock eyes, and then ultimately start having this luscious lesbian love scene where you're just like, oh my God, this is how better can you start a film, really? I mean, holy shit, it's just right off the bat. You're in this hallway, there's people fucking, we get down to the end of this hallway, and bam, lesbian love scene between Florinda and Julia. Just unbelievable from a, I think, sensual side, right? Obviously, this is something that Florinda wakes up from, and we see that this is something she has dreamed. She's dreamed this amazing sexual encounter, and we learn that the woman in the dream is her next door neighbor, this woman who throws these wild sex parties and orgies and things like that, which obviously was where the times were going, right? We were going from the swinging 60s, and we were moving into the 1970s with all this psychedelic music and rock and films like this that I thought was just really perfectly captured by Lucio Fulci in this film, as we're seeing all this sex and psychedelic nature, if you will, from this next door neighbor. And we watch Florinda as she goes through her everyday life for a day. We see that she's bored. She's this housewife that is absolutely bored out of her mind and wants a little bit of excitement in her life. And of course, her husband is played by Gene Sorel. His character's name is Frank, and he has this daughter from a previous marriage, played by Ellie Galliani, and she was in $5 for an August Moon. She ends up being the one that gets away with the money at the end. I immediately, oh shit, for $5 for an August Moon, like automatically. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, oh shit, like the Leo meme of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he goes, oh look, this Cliff Booth, that's. I totally was that guy when I saw this movie for the first time. I was like, oh shit, from $5. Love that. She's his daughter. And then of course we see that Frank, Gene Sorel's character, he's having an affair with this other beautiful woman played by Sylvia Monty, I believe is her name. She is stunning. I think she was the best looking woman in the entire movie. And yes, we do get to see her yet. So if anybody was curious about that, we do get to see her too. He's having an affair, at nighttime and cheating on his wife, played by Florinda Balkan. And of course, Florinda is dreaming and yearning of knocking on the next door neighbor's door. What Fulci does better than anybody in this movie for me is not just tension when it comes to stalk and slash, right? A lot of gialli focus on the tension between stalking and slashing. And we'll talk about that here and how well Sergio Martino was able to do it. And if it's not Sergio, it's Dario Argento. And if it's not Dario Argento, it's, any of these other great, Umberto Lenzi, these guys that you want to mention, Ruggero Deodato, whoever you want to mention. I think that not just that in this movie, because that stuff is well done, the sexual tension that is directed by Fulci in this movie, nobody's done that better. I think there's never been another movie to do it better than this one right here. It is so good from every single aspect. There's a dinner scene where everyone's sitting down and they're talking about boring old life. And, oh, you hear that racket they're making next door? It sounds like a bunch of kids playing football. Like there's all these suave people around this dinner table. And, oh, I'm fancy and I hold my pinky up and I'm better than the sex parties that are going on over there. And we watch Florinda Balkan nervously, almost like anxiously eating these walnuts. She's cracking these walnuts and eating them. And you see she's like ready to jump out of her skin. She can't take the boring housewife life anymore. She can't take playing with her thumbs every day and sitting around and wearing fancy clothes. No, she can't do it anymore. She wants sensationalism. That's what the next door neighbor brings, all these possibilities and sexualities that she wants to explore, the wild side of herself. And we even see Ellie, she's doing the foot tap at the table, and I thought that was great. Also, what nobody wants to mention too, with Fulci, you always hear about the gore. Oh, gore. Is there gore in this movie? Yes, there's some great special effects in this movie, and we'll get into how they got our director in trouble. But I think he was also an excellent filmmaker. Like when it comes to style, in this movie in particular, there's a lot of split screens in this before Brian De Palma did them. I think Sisters comes out the following year, and that's the first time he used the split screen. Lucio Fulci was doing it here. The split screen gimmick I thought was really unique. I loved, there's some great uses of reflection in this film where we're talking at the dinner table and it's one person talking. We'll see the reflection on the table of the other person, instead of just a boring standard face to face. Like, no, I'm talking here and we have a face listening here and then talking here, listening here. Loved that. I mean, it was so well done and directed from a technical. I thought everything he did here, every shot he called really worked, and the dream sequences are the reason to watch, are worth the price of admission alone. Even if you're not a Giallo fan, a Balkan fan, a Fulci fan, whatever, I think those dream sequences are other fucking worldly. To put it so bluntly, they are incredible. I mean, you really feel like you are in a dream, like you are watching someone's dream. It is Lynchian before Lynch even existed, Lynchian before we even knew who the fuck he was. So well done, so colorful, so of the era, and sexual too. Like they don't hold back from the sleaze element of it. You're like, oh my God, there's some great scenes where Julia is, and she's played by Anita Stringberg. I'm sorry, Mateo, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I couldn't remember her fucking name off the top of my head. So sometimes these things, they sprinkle out. I don't know. But yes, that's the beautiful Julia Dewar. there's this one point where she's in front of the camera, like this close, and just kisses the camera, like almost to beckon you in, like I'm coming through your living room, like join us, join us. Become Sadako from The Ring and come through our TV, you know? I love that. I mean, I'm like, this is incredible how they do these dream sequences. Amazing. So basically what happens is we are watching her repress sexuality. It's driving her nuts. And then, of course, one night she has this dream that she sleeps with this woman, and it's cloud nine, and then ultimately she kills her with a paper knife, stabs her 3 times in the gullet, and looks up, and we see these 2 hippies that are high on LSD with these shining, glowing white eye contacts that look like they're on another fucking planet. They're on fucking Saturn and we're on Earth. I mean, they're just watching and like laughing and higher than hell, you know. She sees that and she kind of runs out. And at the time when when it happens, it's like, okay, that was a dream. She even goes to her therapy after and she tells him of the dream. What does this dream mean? Tell me what it means. And he's like, you need to get out. You need to explore yourself. Until we learn that what she has dreamt has actually happened in reality, in similar vein to Nightmare on Elm Street all these years down the road. You know, what has happened in the dream happened in real life. She was stabbed 3 times with a paper cutter, and they don't know who did it. And Florinda Balkan, we watch her from beginning to middle to end of this movie trying to convince herself that she did not do it. And she's all this kind of different weirds. And I love how they portray the mystery. I thought the mystery was so engaging in this movie, because from the first time I saw it, I was like, it would be too easy if it was really Florinda that did it. Like, it had to be somebody else, had to be. And they leave you down so many different avenues where you're like, wait a minute, what in the hell is happening here? And I love how psychedelic and confusing that this movie is. It's incoherent at times, but in a good way. Its dreamsicle elements are just unbelievable. I mean, they are just so well done in this movie from top to bottom. And I think that, you know, that can't really be understated by how good of a director that Lucio Fulci was. I mean, he did such a good job. And of course, I'd be remiss not to mention, you know, some of the other dream sequences that she has. There's a scene where they do suspect her of the murder. They do think she's done it. She's locked up. And you know, she has this dream right before this hippie comes to kill her, and she opens this door, and it's all these like disemboweled dogs that it looks pretty, to this day, it looks pretty good. It's gross. It's horrific. You know, we see the innards of these dogs in this room, and the effects were so good that Lucio Fulci was actually brought into court alongside several crew members. And of course, it wasn't until Carlo Rambaldi, he came in and showed the court the fake dog props. He was like, listen, this is just fake. This is a dog prop. Like, this is not real. We didn't really murder dogs on screen. Fulci faced up to 2 years in prison if Carlo Rambaldi didn't come in with the special effect dogs to get him off the hook. And I know everyone always mentions Diodato and Holocaust, and absolutely that's something that should live on in infamy forever. But Fulci was in court 9 years prior for some shit like this. And I think that speaks to the testament of how real they were able to make a dream feel. And I think that's, again, another great thing about this movie. He makes the distillation of reality versus dreams, and you can't tell the difference at times because it's so otherworldly. I love how that's done. I think he just nailed that aspect of the movie. Of course, we follow these 2 hippies that she believes that she's seen in the dream. At one point, Ellie does confront them and says, hey, do you remember seeing her? Do you remember anything? They're like, no. Ultimately, later on, one of the hippies, the male hippie, he's chasing Florinda Balkan throughout this entire, complex. Alexandra Palace, I believe it is. Gorgeous location, and it's a really great sequence of stalk and slash between Florinda and this hippie guy that's running after her. Ultimately, the police kind of scare him away, and they let her go. It isn't until we get to the finale again where I'm just so blown away by the whole explanation by it and psychology behind it, which is a big reason why I love Giallo films. To me, one of the great things about gialli is the reason / psychology for the killers at the end. I love that part of it. Like, one of the big draws for me is the finales. It's not just the stalk and stash finale part of it or how the killer's going to die part of it. It's why were you doing this? What was the method to your madness? Why did you do this? Well, it's because what they did to Solange. And why were you doing this? And we find out. And I thought it was quite brilliant, the whole ending of this. So big spoilers if you're not, wanting to hear them or haven't seen the film, because I know it's not an overly seen movie. This Blu-ray, I don't think this Blu-ray is in print anymore, unfortunately. So it is what it is. I got it in I think I won this in an auction. Yeah, I won this in an auction. This ending to me, I thought was so well done, because here we have Florinda Balkan throughout the whole picture. She talks with her politician father. Oh, tell me, did you do it? Did you do it? It's the one thing I need to know. Did you do it? No, I didn't do it. That's the one thing I'm sure of. I didn't do it, but I don't know what happened. She keeps saying that. She's pleading this. We find out that her father, he has killed himself and confessed to the murder of Julia. And you're like, I knew immediately, I'm like, there's no way. I don't buy that at all. We also find out that the hippies have murdered Ellie, her character. They murdered her because they obviously were scared of being tied into this murder. So they end up getting in trouble, even though they really didn't do anything but be high idiots in the wrong place at the very wrong time in this mezzanine, if you will, witnessing this murder. But they were so high off the fucking drugs that they didn't put two and two together. Florinda Balkan could have walked right out of there. She would have been fine. They were higher than fucking kites, so she would have been fine with the murder. But her paranoia with those two obviously got them paranoid, and Hunt's killings happened. We learned that Florinda was the killer. Florinda Balkan was the killer. And not just was her husband committing adultery with this beautiful woman, Florinda Balkan was committing adultery with this other beautiful woman who, of course, beckoned her in to the point where she wanted to get off the dinner table and jump through the wall to have sex with this woman. She was having an affair. And what she did was she tried to use the dreams to plea insanity. She tried to use the dreams to say, hey, I dreamt this happening. And for them to go, oh my God, I think it was a dream, but it was really reality. But we won't give you too much of a harsh sentence because you were insane, right? That was her plan. That was her goal. Then, of course, Big Daddy takes the fucking rap for her in his suicide note. And then the fucking, Corvin, he's the guy who's investigating the whole thing. He figures it out. He goes, I see what happened here. And the whole reasoning is Julia was going to blackmail her. Julia was going to say, hey, Mr. Husband, your wife's cheating on you. Little did any of them know that he was cheating on her as well. So it, to me, is the biggest thing with this movie. It's a psychoanalysis of a marriage that is no longer happy, a psychoanalysis of something that is no longer hot. It's no longer thriving. It's no longer working for either party anymore. Florinda is not happy with him. He is not happy with Florinda. And they both, explore their sexual sides and beautiful women. But of course, blackmail is always, danger you run with that. And of course, you would think, okay, it's got to be the husband that's doing this, like it's not going to be little old Florinda that's just dreaming about this stuff. No, it is her. It was her the whole time. And I thought, even though the first time I watched it, it's too obvious to be Florinda. At the end, I was like, that was such a brilliant way. You worked me all the way around until we got to the end where, holy shit, it was her the whole time. Like she was never innocent. She was using the dreams. And again, I think it really plays into the aspect of what is dream, what is real. And as it's presented to us, it looks like a dream. It's textbook. This is a dream, but it was reality. And I think that to me is the genius of this movie. Lucio Fulci's distortion of dreams versus reality, right, wrong, the horrors of sexual and psychoanalysis breakdown of a marriage, all before our eyes as the lizard in a woman's skin who comes in, as explained by the LSD hippie guy, comes in and makes the kill. I love this movie too. This is the second best Giallo Fulci ever did. It would be in my top 5 Fulcis. I don't know where. I'd have to sit down and really do that. I don't know, but it would be in my top 5. It's like Duckling is easily like number 1 by a mile, and then like House by the Cemetery would have to be on there. Oh man, I think City of the Living Dead would have to be on there. This would have to be on there, and then probably The Sidekick. That would be probably my top 5 Fulci movies. But man, you can't really go wrong. Let's see. I think we were here. I get it. I don't buy collectibles and autographs, just hang out and live the moments. That's nice. That's very nice. Let's see. Nice, have a great time. I see Anita Stringberg sort of had Morgan Fairchild qualities. Okay. Fulci is well rounded, and for the amount of movies he did, most of them are great. Duckling is me is the best. The Beyond close second. Florinda in this movie is hot as Edwige in all movies. Yeah, no, Florinda, man. And that's the thing with her too. She like it's not like she had a big ass. It's not like she had giant yits. It's she was just there's something about her that's so sexy. I can't explain it. Beautiful face, beautiful skin, just a beautiful Brazilian woman. And she actually was a lesbian in real life. I don't know if people realize that, but she was a lesbian in real life. So those lesbian scenes, to me at least, feel a lot more authentic than if it was just two straight women. I can't explain it. Florinda looks like she's enjoying it to me, and that adds so much more to the picture, because then it's not just you're acting the part. No, you're enjoying the part, man. Let's sit there with the fucking Anita Stringberg. My God, what a beautiful woman. There's like those two and the one playing the other Sylvia Monty, I think, was the most beautiful woman in this movie. What a crazy good-looking woman, man. Oh my gosh. And yes, definitely Edwige vibes. Edwige, though, like Edwige had the great body, right? Florinda was just, oh my God, man, just a gorgeous woman too. Carlo Rambaldi won an Oscar for practical makeup effects for E.T. Yes, that's right. And it shows. His effects here are really good. There's the stabbing sequence of the main kill in the movie, and she's kind of dragging it down. We see that. This is before, obviously, Fulci would go crazy with the gore, and this is also before it would look oh so real. Like, this is still, you're getting your Crayola red gore here, and I like that. I'm a sucker for that. I mean, you're talking to someone who's, my favorite movie is Dawn of the Dead, so Crayola gore is always encouraged in the movies for me. But yeah, no, that is the blood that we get here. The stuff that K&B has done for The Walking Dead and the medical show The Pit has been pretty groundbreaking, but no court cases. Yeah, no, I don't think we're living in those times anymore, unfortunately. I don't know how many directors are going to get into trouble in courts with this. I only like the soundtrack and aesthetic when it comes to Giallo as well. Soundtrack here, again, you're going to get a Ennio Morricone, and I really like this score too. I don't think it's as good as the score in Solange, but I definitely think this is a really good score too from Ennio. Like, again, playing with like dreamsicle, whimsical, lullaby-esque, but it's not overt. The music in this, it's in the background. You're just, I think this is a movie where you're really watching for the style, for the aesthetics, for obviously the performance. And I think, again, I cannot stress this enough, is the sexual tension. I think this whole movie just revolves around the sexual tension between Florinda Balk and obviously this other woman she wants to be with. I love the score, the music in this one. There you go. It's crazy, but the mystery is very tight. Lynch had to have seen this. Oh, easily agree. Like, this is so, I know, I almost guarantee you David Lynch loved this movie. Like I see so much of what he would go on to do with colors and characters. And again, second, look at a movie like Mulholland Drive. You're telling me there's no similarities for a movie with lizard and woman skin and Mulholland Drive? Like, totally see those lesbian love, angles there. And I think that it's all really well done, of course, in both films. Rambaldi also did FX for the Lynch version of Dune. The Spacing Guild creatures were cool. Yeah, no, I actually, it's been so long since I've seen David Lynch's Dune, but Rambaldi did a great job. And I would love to, I don't think it's on here, but Rambaldi, I would love to hear from him about that, like how he was contacted. Like, Carlo, they're going to lock up Lucio. And but Carlo, why? He had to go into court and show his effects. I mean, it was the first time in the history of cinema that this happened, that somebody had to go and present an effect. That's how well it was done. So, really cool. Listen to a Woman's Skin is another 9 out of 10. I think this is a great fucking movie. It's definitely, is this a top 10 Giallo? It's close. This and Solange are definitely in the conversation of a top 10 Giallo for me. I would say they are. I would say these two are in my top 10 Giallo for sure. And then the next one is definitely on the borderline, if not also in the top 10. So I won't keep you in any suspense about that one, of course, though, as we bleed over to our last film of the evening from 1973, of course, directed by the legendary Sergio Martino. This one went under a ton of different titles. Of course, Carnal Violence is the worst title that it ever went under. It also went under this Italian title right here, which I don't know. Should I try to? I corpi presentano trace de violencia carnale, which that's as a title for sure. I don't really like that either. It's also mentioning carnal violence, which I don't really like. But to me, the best title for this, if you're not going to use another one that I've thought up of, is Torso. Yes, Torso from 1973. Brief plot synopsis. When the University of Perugia is rocked by a string of murders committed with a red and black scarf, 4 co-eds retreat to a countryside villa where the killer is closer than they think. Yes, Torso. Now, the thing with Torso, this to me, when I think of this movie, the immediate reaction I have is proto slasher movie. This is a lot of the American slashers that would go on to be, right? Your Halloweens, your Friday the 13th, your Burnings, your Prowlers, your Madmans, and all of these movies in between, My Bloody Valentine. I think that this was a big influence on those movies, right? Toolbox Murders, they use a similar mask, right? That's another video nasty that we have reviewed on the show. This and a movie called Bay of Blood, aka Twitch of the Death Knell, Baba's film, those two I think were very big and pivotal when it comes to giallos that kind of bled over into becoming adapted by Americans about a decade down the road with slasher movies, with the year of the slasher in 1981, and of course just before that, and oh so much after that. That's the thing I think of with this movie. This was a huge hit in America. This was the first Martino movie I saw. This was the most readily available one. Of course, this was cut for years. You can finally see it uncut on this 4K Ultra HD edition. It's 4 extra minutes of uncut stuff. A lot of that is gore and violence and shit like that. And this would play famously with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre drive-ins. This was a big first feature for TCM. A lot of them we would do either Motel Hell by the time you get to the late 1980s, but in the original run of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 74, 75, Torso was a big movie that was played at the beginning, right? They would do Torso first and they'd cap it off with TCM, and it's a perfect double feature when you think about it. I really love this movie too, and I think it's arguably Martino's best giallo, probably my favorite. It's this or All the Colors of the Dark for my favorite Martino giallo film. Of course, this tells the story of multiple schoolgirls. The main protagonist, played by Susie Kendall, of course. Sergio had been working a long time with of course, we just mentioned her, Edwige Fenech, who we've done a show on this year. We did an entire special to her. So that was a really fun show. But of course, this was supposed to be a younger schoolgirl. Edwige does not look like a younger schoolgirl. She's a lot of things, but a young schoolgirl, she's not. Of course, they cast Susie Kendall, who I remember, of course, from The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. That's always the movie that I see Susie Kendall, I think Bird with the Crystal Plumage. But of course, there's a second movie I think of. It's Torso right here. And her performance here is quite good too. As we are introduced to this class of girls and we kind of bob and weave. I love how Martino does this with the camera. We bob and weave through the rows as we're introduced to our characters, and we learn that one by one they're being picked off by this mysterious masked killer. It's this guy in this kind of ski mask with the holes cut out. He looks like he's about to rob a train or something. That's the look of the killer in this movie. And what grabs me immediately is the atmosphere when these kills are occurring. I think Martino by this time, and I know it's funny because in his interview in this disc, he says he's not a fan of the first 2/3 of the film. He likes the last third of the movie, and he says the first hour he felt was very amateurish. I completely fucking disagree. I think the first 2/3 of the film are just as great as the last third. That's just me, though. Especially filmmaking sequence-wise. I don't know what he's talking about. There are some kills in the beginning of this movie that are just... they should be studied. Again, so good. There's the one with the one girl and her boyfriend. They're making out in the car. They're making love in the car, and he kind of peeks over the killer, and the boyfriend goes running after him. She's like, "Oh, just let him go. Just let him go. He's just a peeping Tom. So what if he wants to look? Fuck him. Come back." So the boyfriend runs off, and we see the killer kind of appear out of the corner of the screen and grab her, and he strangles her with the this red and black scarf. And, kind of feels up her body. And then we are on to the next murder scene, of course, where we see the boyfriend's remains. We see his throat's been slashed and he's been left at the hills. The best scene in this movie, the best sequence in this movie is there's a bunch of kids and they're having this big, I don't know what you'd call it. This big, it looks like a fucking square dancing party or something. They're all dancing in the shit. It's not a square dancing party. It looks like a big hoedown, if you will. I don't know how to explain it. They're all in this barn, and everyone's smoking dope and feeling each other up and making out and having sex and all these things, right? Which is a theme in all three of these movies, I suppose. We're watching these kids, and these two guys are feeling up this one woman. Each one of them have a grab of a yit, and immediately they're like, "Oh, we want to have sex with you." And she's like, "Well, you two need to take your clothes off." And they're both ready to do it. She goes, "You disgust me," and she kind of runs out of there. They kind of get mad and start trying to chase her with their dirt bikes, and she kind of stumbles away into like the wooded area of this marsh/swamp. I don't know how else I'd describe that. I would say like a swampish marsh. But if anyone else has a better way of describing that, by all means. That's my favorite sequence of the movie, where she goes out into this kind of wooded, marshy, swampy area, and we see this wide shot of the killer from the trees. We start back, we do this zoom in a la Jess Franco, and we see this shot of the killer as this fog passes by, and boom, he disappears. And we watch this woman, and she's kind of watching us around like, what is going on? She can't fit. She's like, what is happening right now? She's so unnerved and unsettled. As this killer pops out of nowhere, she hits the deck, and it's just this insanely intense kill, just dripping with atmosphere. Like, that to me is one of my favorite Giallo scenes ever, is that kill in the marsh. And when I heard Sergio say, "Oh, that was amateurish, it's not my bad," I was like, dude, what? That's like my favorite scene you ever did. I love that scene. It's so creepy. And I do think of, again, America with Jason Voorhees and with Madman Mars, with Cropsey, all these, wooded killers. I totally think they took aspiration and inspiration from that. Now, granted, I don't think those movies do it as well as Martino does it here, but I totally think you gave them something to shoot for, and that's always a good thing. Love that scene. And then we get to our characters, right? We get our mystery. We keep learning and hearing about this red and black scarf and this peddler in the street that sells it. And he calls up who the killer is and says, "Hey, I may have told them I don't remember, but if you don't give me $2 million, maybe I'm just going to slip and tell them it was you that bought the scarf." And okay, meet me in this dark alley. Buddy, what the fuck? Why are you listening to this fucking guy? He goes out to the middle of fucking bumblefuck, and this guy just obliterates him with a car. It's just like, oh my god, the guy, you see the guy's head gets smashed up against and just pops. And then it's funny, they do this shot where he reverses back out and the guy's head is intact because they wanted to use the real actor, I guess. It's probably an editing error, but I thought that was kind of funny. And if it wasn't an editing error, it was just kind of silly that they'd have his head split only to show him with his head intact by the end of the scene. Thought that sequence was really good. And then it ultimately culminates to these girls, and they're saying, "Hey, let's go over to one of our uncle's house in the hills for the weekend. Let's get away from it all. Let's get away from the drama. Let's get away from all of this craziness." And ultimately, they are being very sleazy. They are being very, oh geez, what's the word for it? They're being unknowingly welcoming as this killer sort of decides, "Hey, I've got to go up there. I've got to finish the job." And I think why people remember this movie, why people love this movie so much, is for the third act, because the third act is really good. And I see Haddonfield Mascot even mentioned that. The third act is really, really great when it comes to the ultimate Tom and Jerry game, the ultimate game of cat and mouse, as Susie Kendall falls down the steps at one point in this house. She hurts her ankle. She's up in the stairs in this bed. The killer breaks in, murders the three girls downstairs, and the entire last 25 plus minutes, we watch as the killer is going in, dismembering the bodies with this hacksaw, and he is, unbeknownst to Susie Kendall, being in the house with him. And it's this ultimate game of suspension and tense, where one person knows the other's there, but the other doesn't. The killer, the big bad wolf, he doesn't know that one of the little pigs is in the house with him. Love how that's done. And it's totally, again, another huge inspiration that America took and ran with for decades, really. I love how that stuff is done. I love how uneasy it makes you feel. There's a great scene where Susie Kendall, she's trying to get a key for a door that she's locked in, and she puts this newspaper underneath the door, and she's trying to grab the key. She's trying to drag the key in. And so she's feeling around for it. And the killer finally realizes he puts the key there himself. She pulls it in, unlocks the door. Bam, the killer's right there. I was like, oh shit. Thought that was great. They do throughout this movie hint at why, oh, why is the killer doing the things that he's doing? And we see continuous shots of this doll. We see these shots of the doll and then the kind of reflection over the doll, and then we'll see a naked body, and we're wondering what's going on. Like the opening of this movie is a guy having a threesome with these two women. There's these two women who will later go on to be lesbians in this film. Um, you know, they're making love with this guy, and we see shots of that interspliced with these shots of a doll. And you're of course wondering what is the significance of this? We're opening with this, and we really don't mention it much other than split shots and split screen seconds of this doll that we see appearing after some of the killings. We're given this. I think the only weak part of this movie is the reveal of the killer and the motive. Like like I was saying before, I love, love, love the motivations and the psychologies behind the endings of these movies. This is one where I think it should have been fleshed out more. Instead, it's very half-assed in its delivery and how they explain why this person's doing what they're doing. So the big spoiler, the big twist at the end is that this person that's doing the killings, their brother died because he was picking up this doll on the side of a cliff. One of the girls called his name and he fell to his death, and they made fun of him for it. And then he later, years and years down the road, would have sex with these two girls that laughed and ultimately caused his brother to die. And then it's insinuated they were blackmailing him, which I don't to this day understand what they mean. How were they blackmailing him? Like, I don't get that part. I sincerely don't understand how so they were blackmailing the killer. And even Susie Kendall says, well, okay, the two lesbian characters in this, which you do see a lot of lesbian loving, and yeah, good-looking women, no doubt, in this movie. She says to him, she said, well, why would you focus not just on those two? Why the other innocent people? And he says, because, you're all the same. And you get this idea that this guy is a big misogynist and he doesn't see women as people. He sees women as dolls. Hence why we continuously see that shot of the doll. This doll was the thing that caused his brother to die. And of course, he sees women as that. He's this big misogynistic bully that wants all women to perish. And he doesn't see them as people with body parts. He sees them as dolls with limbs that he can just take off himself. That's great stuff to me when you think psychology-wise. It's just so rushed. I wish they had really spent more time on that. That's my biggest gripe with Torso, fatal flaw that may keep it out of the top. I don't know. It's probably in my top 10 gialli, but it's towards the bottom because of that. I hate that reveal. I always thought that could have been so much better done. It's just so sort of blurted out, and then the killer gets chased, and we don't see him get killed. We just hear somebody screaming off a cliff, and then, oh, hey, Susie, this doctor guy comes, and we ride off into the sunset. I was always like, the very finale is always I was kind of meh on it. But it is really good other than that. The brutality in it, I think, is really another thing people remember. Obviously, the gratuity, the violence, and the whole nature of this movie, I think, is really, prototypical and has to be seen to be believed if you like giallo films like this. And again, the whole idea of cutting up the bodies, I like that they didn't linger on it. It wasn't, I had to cut up 100 different body parts of 100 different women for you to get the point. No, you see two arms getting cut off, and it's point, signed, sealed, and delivered. I got it. I get it now. I see what you're doing. I see what he's doing. I get it. Cool. Let's move on. Let's go past this. And they do. They thankfully, it's not, again, over the top with its gratuity. It's implied enough for you to get the message and point. Supporting characters do good here. Martino's direction, really good. I mean, by this time, this was, I think, his 5th giallo. So he had been a pro. And honestly, this was one of his, I think he maybe made one more giallo after this. I think he made 5 or 6 total. He would sort of, to me, plummet. I'm not a big Martino fan after his giallo work. There are certain movies I like. I love Mountain of the Cannibal God, Stacy Keach, Ursula Andress joint. Always enjoyed that movie. It's a crazy cannibal adventure movie with midgets getting their head knocked off and cannibals having sex with boars. I mean, crazy movie, but a lot of fun and entertaining in the best of ways. I always really liked that movie. But even I will say, the man that made this made that. Like it just seemed like he shot lower and lower and lower. And by the end, it seemed like he was just doing TV. And I don't know, he really regressed to me. Like, I think he's one of those guys that maybe it was too much too soon. Maybe it was a situation of he peaked too early. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else shares that sentiment with me. Because obviously Martino is regarded as a master, and I agree, he is a master. I love this. I love, All the Colors of the Dark. Obviously, Case of Scorpion's Tail. There's so many good Martino movies. I don't want to say that there's not. But I think after this, I think he really did take sort of a regressing step down in his career, where for a lot of at least American folk, he peaked right here. I don't know if this is the peak. I don't know if this is my favorite from him. I would actually say All the Colors of the Dark I'd have to put over this. I really would. This is a close second, though. I know his favorite was Case of Scorpion's Tail was his favorite. And then there's, of course, Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. And there's also The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, which is my least, probably of his Gialli, my least favorite of his movies. I know it's shocking to say because people love that one, but I don't know. This one is definitely probably number 2 of my favorite Martino movies. It's 1 or 2. I don't know. Let's get to what the comments have to say, though. I'm totally interested to hear your guys' thoughts on Torso. Where were we? I want to say we were here. Top 10 for sure. Okay, I'm not sure. Was that for Lizard and Woman Skin or was that for this? I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I missed that. Fun to catch a live show again. Sorry I have to go. Bye all. Okay. That Italian sounded Spanish. Well, that makes sense. Dated a Spanish girl for long enough. Torso have great sequences. That chase in the forest and the key scene is on top. Speaking of All Colors of the Dark is the closest giallo to Lizard and a Woman's Skin. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. Like, that is to me the best double feature you could do when it comes to psychedelic, dreamsicle, colorful giallos with great leading actresses in Florinda Balkan and Edwige Fenech, respectively. The direction in those movies are great. I love the mysteries in those movies. I might even lean towards Lizard as the better of the two. It's close. It's really close. I don't know. Definitely my top 10 too. That's about this, Torso. Third act is so good. Nice Toolbox Murders. Shout out, LOL. An odd favorite. Yeah, the Toolbox Murders is one of those movies. The first 30 minutes of Toolbox Murders is great. And then the movie just plummets after that. The last hour of the movie is unwatchable. And I wanted to love it too because, of course, it has the same actor that was in Blood and Black Lace. I can't think of his fucking name. Cameron Mitchell. Cameron Mitchell is the killer in Toolbox Murders, and he's singing the L-O-L-L-I-P-O-P spells lollipop as he has this lady tied to the bed. I mean, I wanted to be behind Toolbox Murders with Cameron Mitchell being the killer and fucking the beginning, opening third, really good stuff. But man, the rest of that movie fucking sucks. It really, really does. Like, by the end of it, it's like you just want to turn it off. I got that expensive fucking 4K of that. And man, it does look good, but fuck, that movie's not worth a 4K. Like that is a purchase I regret. That you need a DVD of that at most. You don't even need a Blu-ray. What is up, Graveyard fam? Beautiful Arrow release of Torso. Merdzy's Movie Mansion's in the house. Thank you so much. Yeah, Arrow, for my money, is the best in the business. I love Arrow. I love this yellow slipcover. This was an option one. I know you can get one with their newly commissioned artwork, but if you're going Giallo, you're going with a nice Giallo and black cover here. And of course, this is the original cover art with the original title, which I like this. I think this is good. And then you have the newly commissioned artwork, which I'm not as big of a fan of. I don't know. I don't really like that. That's not my cup of tea, but that doesn't work for me, brother. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't know. That is not the greatest. I sort of wish this just had the slipcover artwork, but I don't know. I like that. And the same thing with this, movies like this and Alice Sweet Alice. I always love, to me, for the Giallo, I love the yellow background because it makes sense. But this is not a bad cover at all. I actually really, really like this too. And then of course the slipcover, awesome release. And it looks great in HD. It really does look great in 4K. If it's one you have not dipped on, I do recommend the 4K. It looks outstanding. When I first saw that one scene where the killer goes after the stalker, I thought he was going to let him go, but ended up taking him out. Yeah, no, exactly. I thought he was going to get away, or it feels like there's going to be more movie. And it just kind of abruptly all ends. I always felt this movie just doesn't stick the very ending. The third act itself is great. It's amazing. I mean, so good with the tension. You're on the edge of your seat. Like I would even say, not even just Americans, but look at some French filmmakers that took from that. Look at Alexandre Aja. You can't make high tension if Sergio Martino doesn't make Torso in 1973. It feels, again, that high tension is 90 minutes of Tom versus Jerry, whereas the final 30 is Tom versus Jerry. And I love that. I love that storytelling. And I think it's really, really masterfully directed. Also, the soundtrack for this is amazing during the kill sequences. Yes, I'd agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't think this was a Neo. I'm not sure who did the music here. So you know what? I'm going to have to do some cheating. Very rare that I do this, but I will cheat and look it up for y'all because I'm not sure off the top of my head. Watch it be Ennio Morricone, and I just never noticed. I'm actually not sure. Let's see. Let me drag this down. Who did the music in this movie? It doesn't come up. What the heck? Stunts, second unit. What the fuck? Cinematographer, composers. Okay, composers. Guido de Angelis and Maurizio de Angelis. They did the music for this movie. I think they did a good job for sure. I think the motivation was mainly due to trauma from the death of his brother, but that's just me. Yes, it was. And I think there was also the misogyny in there. But they mentioned it's like a throwaway line where he's like, they were blackmailing me, and that's why I had to do this. And then he says, like, women are worthless or something, or you're all dolls, which brings me to what my alternate title would have been if you didn't use Torso, which Torso is perfect. If you didn't use Torso, Welcome to the Dollhouse would have been the perfect fucking title for this movie. And obviously, if you're a Solange fan, you know what I'm talking about. Love that movie. But the whole idea is he enters a house at the end and kills the dolls. He cuts the dolls up. In his mind, they are dolls. So Welcome to the Dollhouse. That would have been the perfect title for this movie. Better than Carnal Violence. That is a horrible name for a movie to me. Granted, Torso's perfect. It sticks. It's sudden. It's perfect. It's just short and sweet. I think it's perfect. Hey, Mateo. Yeah, Torso's great. Great kills. Completely agree. I could be totally off because I haven't seen it, but it almost sounds like pieces borrowed from this where the killer is cutting up body parts to recreate the woman in a puzzle he was doing as a kid. That's a great comparison, and that's a Spanish film, is Pieces. So again, yeah, we started with America, took from this, then France with Alzaja. Now we're up to Spanish. Who wants that? Who's got the next country? Hey, speaking of people from other countries / continents, Ninja Movie Reviews is in the house. Yo, at Grande's Gervin and all the chat. Welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Let's see, where were we? Martino settled after he made a lot of Italian comedies that were Italian blockbusters. Okay, I didn't realize that. Now, I know this was a big, successful movie. I haven't seen a lot of those films, but man, some of the other movies I have seen from him just never have hit home. Like, I just don't. Like there are very few. I don't know. I think he sort of dropped the ball. Like, I looked at his career last night after I watched the movie. I was like, I'm going to look at his filmography, and it's really underwhelming once you get past this movie. And a lot of it's like so top heavy. It's like, oh man, like what the fuck happened? Like you had some prime left in you. It feels like very underwhelming compared to the talent that the guy had. Had to feel funny you mentioned it. I did watch Toolbox Murder. That's right. I saw you do that last night. That's so funny. Found Torso on streaming on Tubi. I'll most likely watch it after the stream ends. I think you'd like this for sure. Anyone that's a big fan of American slasher movies, I think would really like Torso. I would be surprised if you didn't. Usually do like Giallo. Okay, that's awesome. I hope you do enjoy it. Another one, man, it's borderline in the top 10. I don't know if it makes my top 10 Giallo. Like, maybe if we could cap this off, because we're about an hour and a half, and we can cap this off. What is my top 10 Giallo films? Like, let's impromptu. We're gonna call it in the ring, if you will. And if you want to play along, give me your top 10 Gialli. Wow, I shouldn't have put myself in the spot like this, but here I go. This is what I do. Number one, I'm saying Black Lace. I'm gonna say Blood and Black Lace is the best Giallo ever made. I got that there. Number two is Don't Torture Duckling. I love Don't Torture Duckling. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's Lucio's best movie. Love it. Number three, Profondo Rosso, Dario's second best movie behind Suspiria, his best Giallo easily. I love that movie. I think Dario is obviously the master of the Giallo, but Profondo Rosso is his best when it comes to that genre. So those are the top three. And I guess that would be the order. Granted, they all could be interchangeable. You get, like, if I watched Profondo Rosso, I might put it over fucking Blood Black Lace or Duckling. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so interchangeable. Those are the best three. From there, it gets tough. I think the next one that I would put is probably Bird with a Crystal Plumage. I love that movie. That would probably be my number 4. Number 5, I would say All Colors of the Dark would be number 5. Then maybe Lizards in a Woman's Skin at number 6. I'd put Solange at 7. I think Solange is fucking great. Tenebrae at number 8. I think Tenebre's got to be on there. I think Tenebrae is a fucking masterpiece. Does Torso make it? This is so hard, man. I'm at 8 right off the bat. I mean, that's not bad. I don't want to like forget about one that's like super obvious. I'm trying to think Umberto Lenzi, because Umberto Lenzi did some good ones too. I don't know. The last 2 are, I guess, up in the air for me right now. I'm not sure. I guess I don't know. On the fence. I don't know. That's my top 8, I guess, if you will. I guess if I had to do last, I would say Torso would make it. And then maybe another Bava. I don't know. That's close enough. That's close enough for my top 10. But I'd be curious to hear your guys' top 10 on this for sure. Oh, you know what? Right above my head, Alice Sweet Alice would cap it off at number 10. Alice Sweet Alice would make it. I love Alice Sweet Alice. So, yeah, that would have to be on my top 10 Giallo list. So, yeah, that's top 10. So, like we said, like Alice Sweet Alice, Torso, Tenebrae, What Have You Done to Solange, Lizard in a Woman's Skin, All the Colors of the Dark. What did I put at number 4? Fuck. Oh my God, I forgot fucking Bay of Blood and Windows. Oh my God. See, this is why I shouldn't do these things off the top of my head. Bay of Blood would have to be on there. Have to be. Oh, shit. All right. You know, I booked myself into a corner. I don't know. Bay of Blood would have to be. Windows is close. I don't know if that would be my top 10. It's close. It's like top 15. But I don't think I would put all the movies I said over Windows. I would say that. I don't know. Granted, I'm still fucking waiting on the 4K of Windows. Arrow announced it in January. We're fucking almost in June, and it still hasn't come out. So I don't think we should hold our breath anymore, Mateo. Windows, that may just been fake news. I don't know. Hey, Grant, I hope all is well. I love Livers in a Woman's Skin. I did review it in the middle of the show. I'm sorry. It seemed like you maybe weren't here when I reviewed it, but I did review it. I love that movie as well. Colin Kelly's in the house. Have you seen Stoic 2009? I have not. Any good? Any recommendation there? But yeah, no, these Bay of Blood would have to be on there, so I'd have to bump off something. That's really hard. I don't know. It's too hard to say. I would have to sit down. I'd have to have a list of them in front of me, and I'd have to cherry pick, I suppose. But the ones that I mentioned, those are 10 great lists. So I tried my best. Quick list. I tried. Yeah, no, I fucked up too, but he's right. Bay of Blood would have to be on there. Not sure my top 3. Probably Deep Red, Ripper, and Opera. At least my most watched. Yeah, Opera's great too. Ripper's fantastic. Opera is actually really, really underrated. I think Opera is like Argento's last masterpiece of a movie. Like, I really love Opera. To me, that's like the end of his prime, is that movie. That movie is just so good. I love Christiana Marcelich. I love the shots of the crow flying throughout the theater and the crazy heavy metal in it. Another movie I've reviewed Opera on here. I liked it. Jail mockumentary, hard to describe. Okay. Don't Torture Duckling, New York Ripper, Zombie 2, Suspiria, House by the Cemetery, Bay of Blood, Tenebrae. That's all I got off the top of my head. Yeah, some of those I wouldn't consider gialli, but yeah, for sure. Don't Torture Duckling has got to be on everybody's list to me. That's like a quintessential one. Bay of Blood for sure. Tenebrae for sure. A lot of people mistake with Suspiria for one because it has elements, but it's not really. That's more of his witch supernatural film with Goblin doing one of the great all-time scores, if not the greatest. See Dawn of the Dead. If it's Goblin's Dawn of the Dead score or Goblin's Suspiria score is the best score ever for me. But this has been a fun show. I've really enjoyed talking about 3 gialli with you guys here tonight on Grande's Graveyard. All 3 to me worthy of being a top 10 giallo. Now, obviously, I put my foot in my mouth a little bit when I tried to do the giallo top 10 off the top of my head, but 3 movies that are worthy of being on your list and worthy of being watched if you have not seen them already. Missy said this is on Tubi. I don't know if Lizard in the Wood of Skin is anywhere, and I think Solange should be watchable on something. Has to be. I would think maybe also on Tubi, but I'm not sure. I highly recommend these physical copies. Obviously, these two are a little bit harder to find than this one, but I think all three of these are very, very good movies, and Giallo's done really, really well. I think they're all basically 9 out of 10s. They're like maybe Torso 8.5, but all 9 out of 10s, man. Love these movies. Really, really do. And I appreciate you guys watching here tonight. Long live Giallo. Absolutely, Matteo. I'm happy that you could be here for this. I know you're a big, big Giallo fan. And Matteo and I have done fun Giallo shows in the past where we did 3 Giallos. And then we also did like tier maker Giallo episode, which was a lot of fun. So always fun talking about Matteo with Matteo about Giallo films. Obviously, next week we'll be talking about graveyard films, right? Graveyard horror films on Grande's Graveyard, where we'll be discussing Cemetery Man, not the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass, but Cemetery Man Rupert Everett, who celebrated a birthday today. Happy birthday, Rupert Everett, which was a take on Dylan Dog, Dead of Night. Of course, we'll be talking about Graveyard Shift from Stephen King, starring Brad Dourif and all sorts of people. And then, of course, I think the last one was Graveyard of Terror or Graveyard of... I forget the last one. It's a Spanish film from the 70s that I have not seen. We're going in blind, but I'm very, very excited for that. Haddonfield Mascot says, good night, everyone. Great episode. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that. I get Italian and Giallo mixed up. Great show, as always, Grande only. Thank you so much. Well, everybody, I hope you have a safe, happy, healthy weekend. Of course, everyone, if you're catching the replay, comment down below. Let me know what your favorite gialli are, of course. And if you have any, obviously, individual thoughts on the movies I reviewed here tonight, please throw them my way. But everybody, for now, that is all. 2 sweet peace, and we will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Long live Giallo. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.